Hello and welcome back to the Inside Tack. Now, you know we do all things Athena racing. We obviously have a bit of a focus on INEOS Britannia as we lead up to the 37th America's Cup as Challenger of Record. But a major part of our programme as well is the Athena Pathway programme, which obviously encompasses the first ever Women's America's Cup and the Youth America's Cup. And we are really lucky today to have a returnee, our first returnee on the podcast. You must have been amazing first time around, Saskia.
I'm very
Saskia
excited.
Clarke, here you are. Welcome back.
Thanks, Fred.
And a key figure in the Women's America's Cup for the British team.
I like to think so.
Yeah, I like to think so too. Absolutely. And Alex Hughes has joined us as well. Young Alex with a very trendy hairstyle, just like myself. You can know all us young guys have similar tastes, right, Alex?
Yeah, he knows.
And Alex has had a fascinating journey that he was involved with us at INEOS Britannia as an early upskilling program for the Athena Pathway program sailors, and has then moved up the road to Badalona and you guys are now on day 15, 16, 17?
This week has been a month since we've been operationally sort of on the water.
Nice.
And we got sort of 16 days out of 30. So it felt like a big, milestone for the team, our shoreside operations, just the whole thing. Really cool.
So you, as we've alluded to, we had Sophie Heritage, who's also been on the pod. She got upskilled here as part of the shoreside things. We had Bob here with the kind of hydro-y kind of world, legend in both sides of the team. So there was a few of you feet on the ground early on, but now you're completely independent, right?
I mean, we still feel like we've got our big brothers here down the road to look after us. And, you're very much still part of our safety program, I guess, on the water. Both, I guess, we can be emergency cover and stuff. But yeah, we are a fully functioning base and team on our own.
So what does that look like in terms of numbers? We know the grandeur of INEOS Britannia, the America's Cup team here, with our split between our operations here and our design team in Brackley. Everybody is just based at Badalona up the road, and how many are up there?
So we're something like 20, I think. We'll be 24 when all our Olympic guys get in.
Yeah.
Guys and girls get in.
20.
And we're 8 sailors amongst that and 12 support team. And from the sailor side, we all have dual roles in terms. Actually, both Alex and I, we're the sales team. You're looking at, yeah.
Oh, nice.
We've obviously got someone. We've got Bro, who's actually at SailGP at the moment as well.
Right.
But he's kind of our mentor.
Now, give me a real name for Bro, because I don't think it's
Braw.
Braw.
Yeah, Norwegian.
Norwegian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brawworth.
Brawworth.
Yeah,
Viking
good name,
vibes.
actually,
Yeah,
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, he's ex Artemis.
Right.
And what did he do after Artemis?
He's
Maybe SailGP and stuff.
Right.
SailGP, sail off stuff as well.
So similar vibes to us, where all of our sailors have it. You guys are both trimmers on board the boat. So similar vibes to ours, where every sailor has a bit of a shoreside link as well and helps run that program and develop stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we might be a bit more operational, maybe. In those.
What are you trying to say? You're trying to say that we're lazy up the road?
No, not at all.
Okay.
You said that,
when
Fred.
you guys are very much focused on development, right?
Yes.
Whereas for us, we've got a much smaller team, and
Yeah.
it's for us maintaining the boat well enough that we can go sailing
Yeah,
for
that's
the
a good
days we
point.
want.
That's a good point.
Whereas
Yeah, fair enough. So we're not.
You guys have the people to maintain.
We're very lucky. We're very well looked after by supremely skilled people, way more skilled than us with anything technical like that.
But it's been cool. It's been, we're all learning new skills in new areas. The hydraulics group.
Yeah.
From a dinghy background, you would have no idea about any of that. So young sailors getting upskilled in all the engineering side of boats and stuff.
And Sass, for those who haven't listened to you on episode 1 of this season, you did our gold medal episode with Giles and Matt Gottrell, which is for me a must listen. I absolutely loved hearing your journey, your Olympic journeys, and how it translates into the America's Cup and the Women's America's Cup. So we know how bloody amazing you were at sailing 470s and hoovering up medals. So we won't dive into that. But Alex, we want to know, I know you're 23, you've come from a 49er and 470 background. Tell me what.
Topper sailor, actually, Fred.
You're a top sailor
Yeah.
as well. There's a common theme with
Tippy
America's Cup
toppers.
sailors from Britain, that they're all topper sailors. I'll write that one down. Alex, give us a bit of a story. What's your sailing background and How are you here in Barcelona this summer?
Yeah, so sort of grew up sailing toppers in the Midlands, little piddly ponds, basically.
Give us some names of the piddly ponds, because I know there'll be...
Pool,
Yeah.
Staunton Harrow, Barnt Green,
Oh, wow.
Proper,
Yeah.
Shustoke.
Yeah, wow.
Very Midlands.
Yeah, that is very Midlands. Good man. I love that.
Yeah, and you know...
So you're a Brummie?
Brummie, yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
okay. Yeah, no, it's not unfortunate. It's great.
No offence intended to any
Yeah.
Brummie listeners.
Yeah, but if
Sorry,
you're from
Brummies.
Birmingham, maybe you can say that. I would never dream of saying that. Carry on, bud.
Yeah, went through 420s, sort of did the youth squad systems, got lucky enough to get picked up after a little while into uni by Jess Lavery into the 470s, and went through that. Sort of was extremely lucky to be asked to be training partner for Luke and Twiggy for the Tokyo Games, which was an epic experience.
As a 470 crew.
Yeah, 470 crew. And then after that, sort of bounced around a little bit, a couple of different partnerships with the 470 Go Mixed.
Foiling? Where does foiling fit into this?
Not at all yet.
Really? So you're not one of these sort of mothy, waspy...
No.
Really?
Okay. The first foiling I did was on the ETF.
Not from a pond in Birmingham.
No, that's true. You get from one side to the other
Yeah.
in 30 seconds, wouldn't you? Okay. So then you were in Weymouth with some decisions around where your sailing was going to go, and the opportunities started coming up around joining the Youth Americas Cup team. Am I right?
Yeah, so the Athena Pathway sort of launched in its early stages and application process. So applied. And just saying at the first stage, I wasn't actually lucky enough to be part of the program.
Right. Okay.
Which was,
and that first stage was like a bit of a CV writing.
Yes, CV writing. I think it was anonymous application.
Oh, that's cool.
They were kind of very aware that they didn't want to just pick names, be like, oh, big name person.
Yeah,
we need you on the team. It was very much they wanted to be sort of unbiased, I guess.
That's class.
Which, yeah, I think it's a good way of doing it.
But for you, you didn't get a tick next to your name in that very first stage?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was a bit disheartening.
I'm now fascinated to how... Go on.
It was a bit disheartening, but
I
think, so I cracked on, did some 49er sailing with a couple of different helms, and then had that sort of petered out. The guy I was sailing with, Nick Robbins, who's actually on Athena as well now.
Yeah, wow.
He decided he was stopping Olympic sailing, and I was sort of left at a loose end. And sort of sat around in Weymouth, kind of wondering what to do, and got a message from Penny Clarke, our coach.
Yeah, Penny Clarke's the coach with
Athena.
With Athena, of course. Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, do you want to come try out on the sim?" Right. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, sounds great."
Now, and then you obviously had a pretty good sim session, right?
Must have been.
Yeah, I mean,
everything was an auto.
Yeah,
Genius.
But you've actually, without knowing it or without being here, you featured on our podcast before. One of our previous episodes, we were talking through the simulator, and we referenced you as like the Gran Turismo kid. And I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure if you've seen the movie. The real life story around the computer game, them taking the best 10 drivers on Gran Turismo. Now, this is no disrespect. You're obviously a great sailor in your own right, but you got your break, like these kids, through doing a really good sim session.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of world we're in, Sass. That's slightly wildly different to
slightly
when you and I were doing things, sort of having our breakthroughs, let's say 20 years ago, right?
Yeah. I mean, the sim's been an amazing tool for us in those. I mean, I guess for us at Athena, there was the application process and sort of some trials were happening on the ETF, but actually the sim sort of reset that a little bit, if you know what I mean, and got everyone at that point is kind of a level pegging.
Yeah,
we're seeing,
it's new for everyone, right?
Yeah. And it was, obviously you smashed it, but it's really hard to get your sort of sailing brain around it and just commit to what the numbers are saying, what kind of the inputs you're getting from the sim, and then I guess vice versa. Now we're kind of some weeks into the yacht, sailing the yacht, doing the reverse of that again. It is a boat. All those inputs that we know from our topper or from our oppie are all the same kind of thing.
Yeah, you are right. Sailing, kind of with a headset on or whatever that looks like in a funny way. It's all the same thing. So, Alex, good sim session. That was, am I right in saying, October 2023? Yeah. January 2023, you were trimming a mainsail for Ben Ainsley. That's a pretty big 4 months, mate.
It was a bit of a turnaround.
So to fill the story in there, within INEOS Britannia, we had a few circumstances where for a couple of weeks we were a trimmer short, and you came over from the Pathway program and joined the senior team for about a month or 2 months in the end?
3 months, actually.
3 months?
Yeah, end of March.
Yeah, good man.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was chance of a lifetime. Like, it doesn't get any better. Yeah. I mean, I turned up first morning here. We got 2 AC40s, 4 chase boats. Stood on the chase boat chatting with Ben Ainsley.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah,
brain explosion.
Do you remember where you remember Ben from? Like, were you in your topper and like Ben's this 4-time Olympic gold medalist?
Yeah. I mean, like, I was there on the beach in London when he won his gold.
Ace.
Oh, really?
Like,
on the
How old
north?
were you
On
then?
the north. 12 years old. Like,
Cheering on your silver as well.
and your silver,
Yeah,
Luke.
we didn't have a great day that day.
No, but you got a silver medal, so let's be really positive.
Yeah.
Come on, mate.
But we had to get Ben off the course. It was only our second day of racing when he won. He won, and Person Butt got silver. Yeah, it was our day 2. So we're still very much in the business side, and they're letting off flares on our race course.
Do you know what I love about you Olympians? And we've done a pod previously with Xavier and Chris, and we know about you. They remember every single minute of every single Olympic moment, and you could just talk about it for 4 hours. But that's not what this is about, young lady. So park your stories about the Olympics for now. Oh dear. So then, sailing with Ben Ainsley, kind of big moment, right? 2 boat, straight into 2 boat racing.
Straight into 2 boat racings.
Yeah,
it was, we had a couple of loose moments, I think, first day or 2.
Yeah,
I think settled into it pretty quick.
Pardon my French, and our producer Lou will beat me out. Were you yourself, or were you confident? How did you approach that 3-month period of time?
I mean, it's just incredible opportunity.
Yeah, that's how you saw it.
Yeah.
You saw it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's nothing like that is stuff of dreams to be able to be here with INEOS Britannia Cup year, racing against the best people in the world. And just, taking all the learnings all the time and just loving it.
Do you know, one thing that I picked up on you as soon as I saw you was, first of all, deadly haircut like mine. But secondly, I've never seen someone write so many notes in a debrief than you did in your first month. Like, you wrote more in that month than I wrote at university in 3 years. And then the next day before you went sailing, you read through your notes front to back again. I thought that was pretty cool. And that's probably why you were there for 3 months and not 3 minutes. So love that, mate. Well done. And now you're up the road. And you obviously came with a lot of experience into that group, as did Sas, because you joined us early on as well. And you two are now kind of senior figures in upskilling everybody else.
Alex has been really valuable, though. Those 3 months. And then, so that sort of, I guess, made you the most experienced by quite a long way of the trimmers and our team, and also the drivers, to be honest, because our drivers didn't have as many hours as Alex did. Right. So I think we've really relied on you heavily to coach us all, get us all up to speed, and get us and really leading that charge for all of us. And
what does it look like in terms of a sailing team up the road, Sass? Are you 50-50 youth to women, or is there a world where there's young women that can drive in the youth as well? And how does that all shake down, or is that way far off being set in stone?
I mean, it's all set in stone. So we are 12 sailors, and I guess ultimately there will be maximum of 8 sailors per team. Sure. Well, sorry, 4 per team.
Yep.
So 8. But within our kind of roster, we've got it's two youth women. So essentially they could, I guess that would make us 6 sailors, because they might do both the Youth Cup and the Women's Cup in theory. Yeah. So I guess we're sort of in that stage of, we're all trying to learn, all trying to upskill, all trying to get better as individuals, also help your teammates. But I guess there is, at some point, there will be a selection process within that 12. Yeah. I think we're so far off where we want to be at this point in time that's not really even sort of in your mind. You're just trying to race to keep up with the learning, keep up with, each day getting better. Yeah. And I guess if you do that well, then you stand a good chance.
That was one of the things we've just had Chris Draper on in the previous podcast. And I threw a question to him. I was like, who's like the standout person right now? Is there like a little slither of like, oh my God, this person's amazing? And he was like, no, their collective learning right now is what's blowing him away. And you've kind of reflect that as well, that it's like a group improvement.
It's fascinating. Everyone sort of has their day. Like you can have a really great day where you feel you may take 2 steps forward, you know, and you feel like you're smashing it. And then as the beauty of sport, you know, the next day you get a few sort of gut punches and feel like you're not, you know, you're dragging behind the rest of the team and the squad, and you need to really sort of focus and work hard, go through the data, go through the videos and figure out how you're going to get back up there.
Yeah, but come sort of August time, you're on the mega ramp into the racing, right? And what, just for our fans at home, there's obviously so much excitement in sailing this summer as a whole for me. We got the Olympic Games, which we'll all enjoy. We've got the end of season 4 of Sail GP, which will culminate in San Francisco in a few weeks' time. We've obviously got the America's Cup, but
the main events.
Wow, we were talking just before we started recording, and you know me, I get very excited about watching sport. I genuinely think that the Youth and Women's America's Cup with 10 to 12 AC40s buzzing around this shoreline stands a chance of being the biggest show in the summer. It could be the coolest racing out there.
Yeah, I mean, we in the Jeddah, the warm-up in Jeddah in November, you know, 6 AC40s going around a short boundary course looks pretty intense and pretty cool, especially now with all the technology of, you know, you can hear all the comms, you can see some of the data when you're watching it on TV. You really get a bit of a glimpse and a slice of what it's like to be an athlete on those boats.
Yeah. And Alex, how many there's a lot of nations involved. It's not necessarily the big cup teams being represented. There's sort of Spanish teams and Canadian teams and all that side of things. So there's a lot of nations represented going into it. Yeah. And it's fleet racing, right?
Yes, fleet racing, 6 boats. So you got the 6 cup teams or cup nations who are affiliated with cup teams, I guess. And then there's the second pool. So we all race together. So we'll be racing the Italians, the French. And then the second pool is other nations that has had the opportunity to enter, and they'll be using our boats, which is, you know, you worry a little bit about it, that someone else using your boat. But yes, they will be sharing boats, and they'll be in their own pool racing along, 6 of them. And then the top 3 from each go into I guess you'd call it the semi-finals. Right. Also fleet racing, 6 boats.
Really?
It's top 3 against top 3.
Right.
Which will be very interesting seeing the two groups collide.
And that format is replicated in the women's AC as well?
Yeah. So the youth are last 2 weeks in September, and then we're the first 2 weeks in October. And so our final race is the first day 1 of the AC final cup match.
I think it's going to be stunning. I genuinely think it's going to be stunning. So Sass, you and I last caught up probably about 2 months ago now, and you done a lot of simulator. You'd done a couple of days on the water out with the senior squad. How is it now? How's sailing the AC40 for you now? Like,
I mean, I'm loving it. We've had 2 days this week, which one day was, I mean, both days were sort of champagne sailing in terms of sunshine and some wind.
Yeah, helps.
One day was wavy and one day was pretty flat.
Oh.
And just that last day sailing we did in flat water, sort of 12 to 14 knots, it was full like, woohoo! And just, I guess, you get every 5 minutes you do, you just get a bit more confidence, a bit more understanding of, you know, how all the interplay of all, you know, sort of the 4 dimensions of, you know, I'm used to a very 2-dimensional sailing boat, flat on the water, and, you know, immersion, all these kind of things, and my understanding of that's all accelerating. So you actually feel like you put input into performance, not just trying to learn how to do something, and that feels really cool. And then you actually feel like you could go racing, and that's just really exciting.
Making one design boats go fast, which is what you've done for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
So just rather than doing 8 knots in a 470.
37 knots.
Pushing it.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't quite hit 40 yet.
Okay. Nice. So, that's getting pretty fast.
I know. It's fast.
I bet you're glad you're not trapezing out the side of that.
Because obviously you have to get up to the two leeward driver and trimmer have to cross over to the windward side to get the roll momentum to get the
that's
boat
right,
down to angle. And the other day we were doing that, and we got going like it wasn't that fast. I did check. I was like, "How fast are you going?" And it was like 7 knots, but it feels like you're going pretty fast. Just stood there on the side, like wait, and you run round the front of the mast onto the leeward side into your little pod, and the safety of your pod. But everything on those boats feels intense. Just it's all new for me. Just sitting on the leeward side in the slot, it always feels very fast, very windy, very noisy. Just the sort of the noise sounds, it brings like a different intensity to the whole thing. It's kind of incredible.
That's so funny because I'm lucky enough to go cycling a fair bit on Britannia and I have no idea how fast we're going. I keep my head down.
Does it?
No,
okay.
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm completely out the wind.
Okay,
The only way I know how fast we're going is by looking at the little boat speed on the display, and I go, "Holy moly, we're going really fast."
Yeah.
So
I do that every
vibes.
time. I feel like this is fast.
Yeah.
This is the fastest I've ever been on a boat. Yeah.
And Alex, you are also a trimmer.
He's way cooler about it than me.
What is it? What have you got in front of you? What can you control? What does trimming an AC40 look like? Obviously, wildly different to being a 49er crew, but what are you controlling?
Different.
Yeah, what's going on?
You got your two toggles. You got your traveller up and down, and your sheet on and off.
And we're talking like a little PlayStation kind of controller thing.
Almost similar, sort of. It's bonded to the side of the hull inside your little cockpit. And there's two toggles, and then you got 8 buttons, so you can switch in and out of doing main sheet or doing the jib.
Yep.
And then you got your invert for your masts.
Yeah.
And then you can change your mast rotation.
Yeah.
Clue positions and your Cunninghams.
And do you have anything to do with how that we know that the AC40 has an autopilot?
Yeah.
So in the big boats in the AC75, so we have humans flying the boat and making it fly out the water, but you guys have an autopilot, but you can change how the boat flies, right?
Yes. So
is that anything to do with the trimmers?
No, so that's all to do, or mainly to do with the helms.
Okay.
They sort of input what they want the boat to do.
Yeah.
And the autopilot tries to achieve that.
Yeah.
Doesn't always do exactly what you want it to do. So there's quite a bit of techers in sort of bodging around the autopilot to get it what you actually want it to do rather than what it thinks it should be doing. So for the helms, there's quite a bit of techers and button pushing involved in that.
And the most obvious bit of that, it obviously can't see the gust that's about to hit in 2 seconds.
So communication is massive, right?
Yeah.
Communication is massive, and kind of trying to get the port side of the boat driving the same as the starboard side of the boat with the trimming married up as well is a thing that we're learning. So it must be the same for you guys, right?
And a nice little offset wave that we normally have in Barcelona. Yeah. So one tack's normally into a wave and one's along the wave.
It's funny. We had exactly the same vibes in the big boat at the beginning of this week. We had the windier day with the chop, and then we took a proper kicking. We got the boat around the course, but it was hard. And then the next day was flat water, same breeze, and it was like, oh wow, this is really nice.
Yeah. I think we had the same revelation.
Well, we lined up with you guys, right? Who won the lineup? That's what everyone wants to know. What's faster, an AC75 or an AC40?
This is awkward, isn't it, Fred?
Don't you play these games, young lady. It was a massive. Do you know what? I'm a bit of an emotional old fool, and it was a pretty nice moment for the whole organisation to see that moment, like the youth team / women's team and the senior team do a little spin up and sail upwind together. And because obviously we had the COVID Cup, so we didn't have that moment as a senior cup team in Auckland. And in Bermuda, we did a little bit, but it was such a small place. You never had all the boats on the water together. So it was actually the first time we had both boats together.
Yeah, very cool.
Goodness, the AC75 was faster. It would have been so awkward,
we were sandbagging just
sandbagging. Is that what you're saying?
The classic pre-regatta sandbag we were doing.
Enough. Alex, talking of kind of the senior teams, looking around the viaduct now, the basin now, it can't be lost on you that the age of the sailing teams is getting younger. You have just look at our competitors up the road, the Italian team, Luna Rossa, and the age of the crew that they sailed in the last World Series event with. That, for someone going through the youth program like you and your buddies, that must be pretty nice to see that finally the kind of a sport that's famed for holding on to old timers, much like myself, we're having a bit of a generational shift, right?
I find that actually quite interesting because the boats are not as physical as they used to.
Yeah.
Say 3-4 cups ago, where you had 8 guys pulling rigs around, and now you can be. You don't need to be as physically fit or active to sail unless you're
In the AC40,
in the 40.
Yeah. Thank goodness he said that.
But
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
for sort of trimming
Yeah.
and helming,
Yeah.
you're pushing, but you don't need to be as physically fit.
And
And yet it's still going, it's shifting younger and younger, which I find really interesting.
Well, it's not though when you think about how your generation grew up, like digitally in the digital generation, holding phones, holding computer games, reading screens. I think it's obvious that it's going that way. And
but then you still think that the best sailors, or I would say the best sailors, are still the older generation who have the experience sailing more boats in different types of boats.
Yeah. I think
so. It's really quite an interesting dynamic at the moment, I think.
And we've referenced it on previous pods, particularly with myself and Chris and Xavi swinging the lantern a bit. It really feels like we're in a pivotal moment, a key moment, not only in the boats and the sport itself, but the people who are now sailing these boats and going to be racing in future America's Cups. And Sass, that leads me on to the obvious question. With the women's AC, and as Alex has just alluded to, physicality has always been a reason, a blocker for why female athletes haven't been involved in cup programs in the past. That physicality has now been eroded. There's going to be female athletes in the upcoming AC, surely, out the back of what we're going to see this summer, right?
It's exciting. It's, like we've got across the 12 teams, a lot of my friends from Olympic stuff or like I watch now doing Olympic stuff, really good female athletes. And they've got 20 years of career ahead of them. They'll knock out some Olympic medals this summer. Yeah. And this whole platform is opening up for them, and it's going to be great. And the whole sort of element of the One Design AC40, it's going to just be a great sailing test. We're not we're going to have nowhere to hide behind all the design stuff, and it's just going to be a great test of sailing and a great test of athletes. And some of those women for sure we will see over the next 20 years growing into AC teams. And
there's a pathway, right?
Yeah.
For me getting into it 20 years ago, there wasn't a clear defined pathway to come and join this top level of the sport. You had to get a few results. You basically had to be lucky to get your spot. But now there is a pathway into the youth AC, the women's AC, and then to go into the senior teams, which has been a huge shift, don't you reckon?
Yeah. And it's just a great, it's such a jump from what I've been doing into a program with an AC40, the boat and stuff. And then again, it's a huge jump from that to an AC75. So, it's having those stepping stones where you can upskill, understand hydraulics, understand the various, cant, all these things, how they all interplay.
There's no other way in sailing to understand what's going on in an AC75. It's such a different type of sailing now compared to what the general person who sails would do.
Do you worry about that? Do you worry that there's a disconnect between young Alex Hughes that was sailing toppers in a little puddle in the middle of the UK versus what we do? Is there too much of a disconnect, or do you think because there is a pathway into this, it's now kind of fine and the sport's cool and let's make it cool for everyone? Or
I think the availability of foiling throughout sailing is increasing, right? You got Wasps and all these other smaller foiling boats that people can, have access to, or that are more accessible for people to sail. And I think that has helped close the sort of gap where people are like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. To now,
because the cost of a moth is you need to remortgage your house, but you can go foiling now cheaper.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap, no.
And I don't think it's ever going to be, but it is.
There are opportunities to go and try foiling, right?
Yeah.
At the Andrew Simpson Centres, right, Sass?
Yeah. And even just like wing foiling, there's a lot. I think, obviously, we know foiling in that kind of wind sport way.
Yeah.
But actually, I've got friends and mates who they've got foils on their SUPs. They've got, it's people generally very fascinated about foiling. I had a wasp and I was just launching it off the beach, and just the old couple walking past are like, what is that? It's they're intriguing bits of kit that people definitely ask you more questions about than if you're stood on the beach rigging your Enterprise or your Mirror or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
I get that.
And so I think it kind of increases that interest and that access from a whole different sphere that wouldn't have been interested in sailing.
And we on our social media channel the other day, we're getting a lot of love for the pod, which we're really humbled by. And we opened up questions from the general public, and so many were from younger listeners saying, how do I get there? How do I get there? How do I get there? So I'm going to ask that question to you two. Like, if you are currently right now a good club sailor at any club around the UK or around the world, and you're kind of at that topper kind of 420, like smaller dinghy crossover, what would you say to them to do to kind of be where you guys are sitting in 10 years time? What do you think that looks like?
I mean, I always say that the number one skill you need as a young athlete is tenacity.
Right.
I mean, talent gets you a long, long way. I mean, there is a book written called the Talent Myth, you know,
Right.
and obviously we have role models like Ben, like Hannah, which we absolutely should do, who are hugely, incredibly talented, but that hides the sort of all the hard work, all the bouncing back that you have to do, because you will fail again, and you have to bounce back. And then I think the second thing is you just never know who you might meet. You basically just have to spread your network wide, because a lot of this stuff ends up being a collision of talent and a bit of luck, because you met the right person at the right time who had an opening on the foredeck of his yacht to do Cows Week, and then you're in the beer tent at Cows Week and you bump into you, and you know, like things like that. You just never know. And just say yes to all those kind of opportunities, even though they on the initial bit it might not seem like it's
a big deal
or an opportunity. You never know where sort of a few cycles round who you end up meeting.
I would absolutely second that. And I would say the reason I'm sitting here is because around that age of 14, 15, I did every kind of sailing I could. I didn't focus on one. I didn't want to go down the Olympic route. I just did everything and grew my knowledge and love for the sport on such a wide basis. Alex, what about you? What would you say to a young 12-year-old sailing at a puddle in Birmingham? What are you going to do to be the next Alex Hughes?
Wow.
He's blushing just for the podcast fans. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. Taking every opportunity you get, like, you don't know where it's going to lead, who you're going to meet. I mean, there's incredible people at every turn in sailing and people are willing to help. Like, speak to people, be like, I want to get into this. Would you be able to help? I'd really appreciate it. And generally people are like, yeah, okay, I know this guy or I know this person. Let me chat to them. And, you know, like networking, that sort of stuff.
Did you find that here with the senior guys and everyone was good, right?
Yeah, took me under the wing, like, you know, Cornish, Parko, Dylan, who I was sailing a lot with, they all took me under their wing, really helped me along. And I mean, just lovely guys. But I think as well for younger sailors, like, don't lose the love for the sport. Do it because you love it, and do what you love in sailing. Like, there's such a wide variety of things you can sail and do, and there's opportunities in all of them. Yeah. And, you know, we got obviously Olympians sailing with us, and we got people who kite foil coming in and doing all these different types of sailing, and you do it because you love it. And that's what really, you carry on because you love it. And it's the people who carry on and keep pushing, that tenacity that Sass is on about. Like, that's how you keep going and manage to find the opportunities to get through and get to where you want to be.
Right. Incredibly wise words from
I
a young
know.
man there. That was deep.
Impressive.
Yeah, I'm impressed. You can tell you've been hanging out with Sass in the loft. I feel like you guys must have some deep and meaningful conversations.
We were saying yesterday, we were sat there doing sticker work, and we were like, oh, we're just warming up for the podcast. It's great stuff.
I've got to ask, so Sass, I know you wanted to get onto it later, but you talk about doing sort of sticker work. I presume peeling off stickers and base work. You talk about tenacity. Like, what let's have a campaign update. So what's the last 2 months look like? And what does the next 2 months look like?
So the last 2 months we have done an array of jobs, which include
Go on.
painting and decorating,
Yes.
cleaning the toilets.
Okay.
Then they started to get a bit more glamorous.
Well,
So
the only way is up
to-
from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were allowed to start like making. Oh, you made a really nice custom electronics
station,
board,
yeah.
didn't you?
Oh, well done. So you're
That was a
sparky
glamorous
now.
job. And then when we started getting kit, so then you guys gave us your hand-me-down sails, which is very kind of you.
No worries.
You could have taken all the stickers off first though.
Okay.
So we've
I've got a
spent the
sticker
last
story.
like 3 days on our hands and knees with a hot gun.
I'm going to trump your sticker story in a minute, but carry on.
And so that's our job, like our ongoing job for the next few days, just to get those debranded. Yeah. And obviously the last 30 days, that's been interspersed with some really cool days sailing. Yeah. Some frustrating days at sailing for sure. Big waves in Barcelona, and when it's lighter wind, it's really hard to take off. Yeah. That's sort of a really technical part of it, which we saw, the senior teams in that first event in Villanova was
it's not easy.
Hard.
It's not easy. They make it look easy when it's ripping, but getting there's not easy.
Yeah. And so I guess the energy of a whole group it goes in waves, and but nothing like resets it pretty high after a banging day on the water.
Yeah, and Alex, so that's been the last 2 months. You've become tradies / sailors. What's the next 2 months? More, obviously, slightly less base building, just hours on the water, right?
Hours on the water. Like, we really feels like we're at a point now where we're happy and in a rhythm with the sailing, starting to get to where we're all coming, like the group levels risen so quickly, massively. And we're like, okay, now we can really push this boat around. Like, we're happy with everyone's level. We're really happy with doing manoeuvres, getting in up the wind range. And we're like, okay, we're getting marks in, pre-start stuff. Like, it's really, we're getting to the level where we can push the boat. And that's really exciting, I think, as a group.
It was intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was good.
Obviously, you got Chris. We had Chris on the previous pod, and I said Chris is sort of coaching you and sort of giving you all the data and the feedback, and learning as a group is the big message I get from you guys. It doesn't feel like, quite often in cup teams, it can feel political. It doesn't feel like you guys are anywhere near that vibe, which is so healthy.
So much to do.
Yeah, okay.
There's
don't have the time.
No, I mean, there's so much to do anyway. Even if we had, just 4 sailors, we're rotating through positions so that we all get our hours, and we're doing that with a really mindful of the risk we're taking. So we're not all allowed out in 18 knots yet. It's sort of a bit of an experience matrix, and so you'd get 3 experienced sailors, and you'd get sort of 1 newbie to 18 knots would go with the 3 experienced to kind of gradually push us all up. And so that takes quite a bit of time to sort of do that all in a pretty safe environment. But it was cool because yesterday we had 14 knots, so we're kind of all within our bandwidth of pushing, and it was the first real day that I've been on when we've had marks in and like boundary racing, because obviously my background isn't boundary racing. God, those boundaries come fast out of an exit.
I find them really frustrating. I find them really, because just when I've got my breath back from the previous tack, they say boundary in 10. Yeah. And I'm like, but hang on a minute. I'm still a little bit tired from the last bit.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
And I get really excited to think about what that looks like with 6 boats.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
It's going to be cool.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And have you got blisters from picking the stickers or the twiddling of the HMI?
Thumb
ache.
Yeah.
You see, I'm going to quickly do my sticker story. When I first joined an America's Cup team, GBR Challenge in 2001, we inherited the Japanese boats, Nippon. Possibly the most branded sails I've ever seen in my life. And I went straight into the loft. And my job for the first month was to debrand 6 America's Cup sails. By myself, it was a month of 10 hours a day with a heat gun, like you were saying. And as I finished the 6th one, they threw all 6 in the bin. And it was my initiation to see whether I was going to whinge. And if I'd kicked off and walked out and whinged, I definitely wouldn't
different
be here
career
today. So,
yeah,
keep your mouth shut.
What did you have on your Walkman?
Did I have I think, yeah, it would have been a disc. So
he's like, what's
Alex,
a
there are
Walkman?
these things called tapes. Okay, they used to have music on, and you'd put them into this cassette machine.
Was this when the TVs were still black and white?
Yeah, we had 4 channels, didn't we, Sass? In the good old days.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on. All right, let's leave my silly little stories right there.
I think it's good, it's obviously that big sporting story of the All Black story, when the captain sweeps the floors.
Yeah.
We're fully in that with our team.
That's great.
Everyone is, Chris, Hannah, they do the washing up, they, get on with it and get done what needs to be done. And I think it's really important. We are a new team. We've got
building culture,
no legacy of.
Yeah, sure.
It's such an exciting opportunity to build a team with what we believe is the right culture. and the right ethos behind it.
And you're all architects in that.
Yeah.
You all feel like you can influence that culture. That's a very lucky place to be. Really lucky place to be. Nice. God blimey. That got quite deep, didn't it? I enjoyed that. So we've had a campaign update. We've learned a lot about you. We're going to move on to the quick fire questions. My new phone, they're slightly changed. Okay. You're going sailing tomorrow. It's going to be the last time you ever sail in your life. What boat are you sailing and where are you sailing it? I know. Alex, get thinking because this is coming to you next.
It's West Mersey, Essex.
Oh, where you learned
It's Mersey
to sail?
week.
Yeah, it's Mersey week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm on board a fisherman's open boat,
Now you're
clinker
gonna have
built.
Okay, describe this boat because I have no idea.
I mean, somebody did a bit of a ringer one, and it was basically they're all different sizes, but they originally were what I guess 100, 150 years ago. The fishermen went and got their oysters in.
So I'm getting a non-foiling vibe.
Non-foiling vibe.
Got
definitely.
it. Okay, right.
They have a gaff rig. Everything's wooden. Someone did a ringer a few years ago, and it was basically they made an Enterprise. They sort of had the shell of an Enterprise, clinker built, so it's that size. But there's like various different sizes.
You're quite passionate about these boats.
Oh, because it's so fun.
How many people do you sail with?
So I've done Mersey the last few years with 6 of us or something.
So give us your all-star lineup. Come on, have some shout outs.
So that's Josh on bow.
Yeah. Okay. Big up, Josh.
It's Ollie on the stick.
Right. Which is driving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tor is his wife's on main and
Right.
pre-start timing.
Oh.
I'm a bit of a floater generally.
Right.
Because I'm not there sometimes.
Right.
We've got Ollie as trimmer.
Right.
And the most important, which you will definitely appreciate this,
Yeah.
the most important role in the boat
Yes.
is Marianne Poole
Brings the
on lunch.
I was going to say brings the food.
Yeah, she is
Thanks
a
for that.
professional caterer.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I would. That person is my favourite person by a mile, and that's a deadly crew. That sounds like a deadly crew.
It's deadly. On
Love
both
that.
on the water and on the dance floor.
Really.
Yeah.
Talking of on the dance floor, I heard a little rumour the other day. We've just had Hannah Mills's wedding, right?
Yes.
Congratulations to
Hannah
Hannah.
and Dempo,
Yeah, and
yeah.
Dempo, obviously. Yeah, cool. What am I thinking? And you did a flash dance at her wedding that you were practicing in the rib off the coast of Barcelona. Can you confirm or deny?
Confirm.
Confirm.
We smashed it. The
Oh,
Barbies,
really?
the girls
Yeah.
smashed it, yeah.
A little bit of arrogance. Okay, fair enough. Alex, same question to you.
Oh,
It's your last ever day sailing.
last
You've never
ever day sailing.
Yeah. What are you saying?
Gotta be Enterprise on Pal's Pool, Sutton Sailing Club
Really?
with my dad.
Do you know
Back where it all began.
Oh, I love that. Everyone we have asked this question to has gone old school with family and friends at their local clubs. And I think that resonates with what you said earlier about kind of have the love for the sport, right?
I mean, yeah, it's just back to the roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Every
that.
time I go home, I'm, Dad, we're going sailing. Come on.
In an
come on."
Enterprise.
What's
So
your dad? Dad's got an Ent.
We did, yeah. We normally borrow or we club Xenons. Absolute bus, but yes, she goes.
She goes all right.
She goes.
My next question is on the water snacks. Now, it sounds like, remind me of the lady's name who brings you on the water.
Marianne Poole.
What does Marianne Poole have in her lunch
It's
bag?
super high end.
Oh, go on.
It's frittata. It's like Spanish omelette with chorizo.
Wow.
It's a sort of homemade guacamole.
Homemade
hummus.
guac?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is fancy.
She won job.
Yeah.
How does that compare to the lunch out here? What are we chowing down on?
We're still in the refining stages of our dietary requirements.
Right.
On our sailing programme, aren't we? I quite like a tuck biscuit.
Oh,
Salty
right.
tuck biscuit, but doesn't go that well.
Doesn't
if it gets
feel
wet.
very sports sciencey, that.
Pressing buttons, Freds.
Oh, yeah. You know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When you put it like that, Alex, what are you going for, bud? What are you having in your
We
your
built
snack?
little.
Alex has got a snack can.
I've got a little snack pouch in the
What,
cockpit.
on the boat?
Yeah, we got sodies, Fanta.
What, like
Coke.
a glove box in a car?
I mean, pretty much. It's just a mesh pouch I glued on.
I feel like our sailing
great.
days are wildly different. Mine is all about like inhaling a kilo of ice to keep my core body temperature down because it's rather warm in my little
Yeah,
box.
I do move my fingers fast and they
Yeah.
get a bit hot.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I think I'd prefer your snack program to our...
I think we do need to do some upgrades on it though.
What, the snack program?
Yeah.
Have a word with
We've got
Alex
Twix
Hobson
and stuff.
and Pete Cunningham, our human performance dudes. And we've just got a slushy machine. How good? Like the ones you see at the cinema for body temperature control because it's so hot.
And you're going to go cola flavoured or raspberry
No, we're
flavoured?
doing
Or...
like sports science powders. Thank you very much. With a large popcorn on the side.
Nice.
Right,
I mean, it's going to be hot in there, right? What do you reckon?
Well, you've got no air, have you?
Temperatures?
You're tucked away.
The plan is not to feel the air because that slows the boat down.
Yeah.
But we're getting to, I mean, we're not even hot yet and it's hot in there. So there is a whole project going on. As we know, there is across all the teams. So I'm not giving anything away. But human performance when your core body temperature is going up by 2 degrees in 20 minutes is a battle.
Yeah.
And we're lucky. Shout out to the INEOS Grenadiers, the cycling team who are sharing all their knowledge on that with us, which is very cool and very kind of them. Right, quick fire questions.
Sounds
Obviously
so quick.
not quick fire. Grit, rigor, humour. Sass, you've done one before, and I feel like I've kind of stolen your gritty story already because you were going to talk about being a tradesperson. Yes. Alex, in which case I'm throwing over to you. A story around grit, rigor, and humour, the kind of an INEOS mantra that resonates with you, something you've learned from, something that you can be a specific day on the water or any day in sport that's taught you something.
Rigor, humour.
Yeah.
Wow. Difficult.
Yeah, maybe
Very
you haven't had any of those things. You're so young. You haven't had any of those things happen to you yet.
Wow. Yeah. Put me on the spot there.
Yeah. I mean, it probably, without answering your own question for you, surely like is it rigor? It probably is rigor. Like your day here, your first day here.
Day, yeah.
Like,
Gotta be.
It's got to be.
Gotta be.
Trimming for Ben Ainsley.
Ben Ainsley.
Yeah.
Stunning first day. But
Did you give him some pointers?
oh, come on.
Did you?
Down a couple here. Come on.
You're like, come on, Ben.
That flappy thing. Yeah, no, I don't want that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So,
but yeah,
I think that, I mean, there you go. We've answered the question for him, haven't we?
Oh, cheers.
You're too young to know, but to show up and, to show a bit of British stiff upper lip and a good bit of rigor and crush those 3 months, mate.
We had a couple of loose moments.
Chapeau.
I mean, a bit of spin out.
Alex is the only one in our team. Oh, no, Alex and Hannah are the only two that have capsized so far in our
really?
team. Yeah.
Yeah. What do they say? If you're not out of control, you're not going fast enough, or some cool saying like that?
We're going the safe side of loose is our
Safe side of loose. Like
current
that.
motto.
Yeah, safe side of loose. That ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? Until you go racing, and then it's just going to be loose.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. Tomorrow, actually, we're doing our first racing. We're doing some sim racing with all the other teams.
How does that work?
We all connect
Right.
online.
On the World Wide Web.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll all be there at 10 a.m.
Oh, really?
and we'll all do a race. Yeah.
Are we?
We're going to do it 12. 12 teams.
Don't
That'd be a
know.
lot. That'd be hectic. But
That
maybe
would
it's
be
in 2
hectic.
batches of 6. I don't
Right.
know.
That'd be good though.
And that's organised by you or the
No,
event authority?
that's organised by the event authority.
Right.
Yeah. So actually to try and get so obviously there's 6 teams with maybe a bit more, 7 teams with access to boats, but 5 teams that are sim training until late summer. So it's to as a group it's obviously we all want to win as individual teams, but we all want to win an event that's really cool.
Yeah.
To get all our competitors, everyone firing. Yeah.
Well, you should have seen the day after they had like the not grown up, that's the wrong word, but they launched the game.
Yeah.
The America's
That
Cup
Dylan
game,
went to.
and we sent
Yeah.
Dylan over there, and he won.
Yeah.
And he'll tell you that he didn't practice. He had a mega week of practice.
Yeah.
And he walked into this building the next day like king of the castle, look at me, I'm the man. So there is some kudos points to be had.
I mean, it's going to be hectic this summer, isn't it? Because everyone's going to, can get that game with a PlayStation wheel and use it on your PlayStation, and you will be racing against all the weekend warriors who will be having a piece of...
and they are unbelievable, just quietly.
They're going to be...
There's some people that pump some hours in.
Yeah.
they're going to be beating us around a course, like legitimately beating us around a course.
Yeah. So, Sash, you've done a great rigor humour for us before around your injury for pre-2012. Is there anything else, any pearls of wisdom you want to share with us?
Pearls of wisdom. I mean, it's been a fascinating 2 months, coming sort of back into this sort of real sharp end of what performance of this thing. And, I guess I'm definitely not as good as young Alex here. And I'm used to, when I sort of left that kind of performance,
You're
I
the
was
best in the world. Yeah, you were. Gold medalist in Rio. Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You're used to, and I love it's so cool being in a place where you just learn loads every day. You know, when your learning curve's so steep, it's a really rewarding and cool place to be. But I sort of have to rein in my frustration at not being where I want to be at this point in time.
That's her reign. That's her reign.
Don't let loose. Jeez.
Zoom in there, Liz. This is very cool, calm and collected.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, my red mist is deep, but I do get some occasionally.
Long Fuse, Big Bomb, total legends. And thank you so much. That's two-timer. First two-timer on the Inside Tack.
What a label.
Achievement.
What a label.
Achievement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something. It is something. And Alex, like, well done. Like, seriously, well done. It's cool to see. And amazingly deep comments from someone who, to be honest, I thought was just a pretty face and a very good sailor. So you're a deep thinker as well.
Cheers.
Mate. And it goes without saying, you're both going to come back on. We're going to get Hannah on very shortly as well, because she can share all of her stories around the Athena Pathway program, but obviously a key member of our Sail GP squad as well. So Hannah is going to be coming on very soon, but she's a very busy young lady, isn't she? Trying to get her.
She's got lots on, yeah.
She has got lots on. And the best way, so obviously we have a lot of followers with the INEOS Britannia socials. How do we follow your journey from now on? It's on Instagram,
Athena Pathway, yeah.
And you guys chuck out some very cool and exciting content, and that's going to ramp up, I'm sure, over the next few months.
We can get away with it because we're kids, can't we?
Because you can do all the super, super cool social media, yeah.
Yeah. I'm so all over it.
Yeah, man, it's cool. No, it's cool. I really
They're
enjoy
teaching me Instagram every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm going to refer to a previous pod. Neither Xavi or Chris have Instagram. So
Chris has Instagram.
No, but he's blocked it
use
because he watched that show on Netflix where they said they wash your brain or whatever it is. I feel like we're waffling. We're gonna park it. We're gonna park it. Thank you so much yet again for joining us on the Inside Tack. Fascinating insight from these guys about what their summer of racing, summer of training looks like. Like I said, I have a sneaky suspicion that they're racing, and the women in the youth AC could be the show stealers this summer. So cannot wait to watch these guys do their business, and we will speak to you very soon. Give them a follow, Athena Pathway, on the social medias, and join us again next time on the Inside Tack.